Thank you very much, and welcome to another edition of On Point for today, Friday, the 21st day of June 2024. And of course, it is indeed my pleasure to come here to spend an hour with you this afternoon. And I must say that it is always my pleasure to do so because I've committed myself to it. But I must say that last week I must apologize for not being here last Friday. Of course, we had a parliament in St. Kitts, and then, of course, there was a funeral service up there in Gingerland for Pastor Douglas. And I attended because, of course, he was initially, or some years ago, was married to a cousin of mine. So all of these children are my cousins, so I figure I would go and give them my support. So I wasn't able to be here at 1 o'clock last week, and indeed, even though I'm not here, my heart and soul is always here with you here at Von Radio and throughout the world. Let me start by greeting our listeners. Of course, we certainly appreciate your commitment to being with us at 1 o'clock on a Friday. So those of you here on the island of Nevis, throughout all of the parishes, St. James, St. Thomas Parish, St. John's, or St. Paul's, St. John's, and St. George's, we say welcome. And indeed, I want to welcome all of our brothers and sisters down in St. Kitts who are listening as well. Because as much as we think that we are just being heard here on Nevis, Von Radio is going far and wide. But also the listenership of Von Radio is one that has grown over the years. So those persons down there in St. Kitts who have taken your time out and I dare say your precious time to listen, we appreciate it. And we go further afield, of course, our neighboring islands, Statia, Sabre, St. Bart's, French and Dutch, St. Martin, of course, the British and U.S. Virgin Islands. We do have listeners in Puerto Rico, of course. Our nationals do stay in touch with what is going on here. And as we go up to North America, the United States, the eastern seaboard, all the way across into the Midwest, and over to the western flank of the United States, California, Oregon, Washington states, and those three states, of course, flank the U.S. mainland itself. Of course, you have Hawaii and Alaska that makes up the Union, the 50 United States. Okay, so we go all the way back west across the whole flank of Canada and into Toronto and Montreal and those places. I know we have quite a number of Nevisians in the Toronto area. I say good afternoon to you, and I say have yourself a wonderful luncheon break. And while you're having your break, of course, we thank you for listening and indulging in your lunch at the same time. Go up to Europe, of course, United Kingdom, France, Germany, the whole of Europe, and also into Asia. So we try to cover every area that we feel our nationals are, and I almost believe, as I say from time to time, that we do have someone in every single country in the world, because of course we do sell passports here in the Federation. That's part of our revenue generating business around here. We sell passport to persons who are willing to purchase our citizenship or invest in our citizenship, and so we welcome one and all. And so we move on. Of course, anyone who are in the bereaved column today, we express sympathies to you, and I don't think I have anyone in particular. Oh yes, I would have spoken to members of the family as already. Of a young lady who would have passed, who was at the Department of Agriculture when I worked there, but she was married to Diedrich Franz. That is the son of my friend Finey France over there in the Combomier, Scarborough area. Well, the entire France family, of course, is grieving at this time, and of course the family of Lashana Kelly down there in Hanley's Road as well. I know she was the sister of my friend there, what's his name again, Yaga. That entire family is certainly grieving at this time. But Lashana, I met her there. I believe I met her at the Department of Agriculture when I got there in 2013, I believe. But I know she worked there for some time. And indeed, she was very young, though. And once we lose our young people, it certainly is one that touches us immensely, because, of course, the human resource capital and the investment you'd have made in those, in the human being, so to speak, in terms of in the workplace, in the family life, and so forth, that would be lost with the passage of someone or the passing of someone. And so we are certainly, sharing in this loss with the family, especially the husband and the children as well. It is certainly a loss, and of course we will listen up and see when the funeral service will be held, so that we can at least go and give our support at that time. And anyone who are in the bereaved column at this time, I say my condolences to you, and hope and pray that you will find the strength and through these difficult times, the strength that is provided by God Almighty, because that's where our strength and our sustenance come from. So I say to all of you who are grieving, it is difficult to lose someone. It is certainly not easy, but of course, family members will just have to lift each other up at these difficult times, so that you can all get through it. And indeed, whatever support can come from the community will come. I just came into the studios, and I will say that I got some wet coming here. We had a torrential downpour of rain, and every time the rain falls, it is indeed a blessing, because we've had some rather dry weather over the last couple of weeks. Indeed, we know that the weather bulletins that are produced suggest that we'll have some challenging times with the weather over the next couple of months. Challenging in that we are expecting an above normal hurricane season, of course, but also before that we know that all indication and all indicators suggest that the weather will be a challenge in terms of low rainfall. And we've been experiencing low rainfall, of course, minimal rainfall, I dare say. Sometimes you have a passing shower which does nothing much, but what we got just recently, I'm not outside now, of course I can't see outside, but at least it was pouring when I ran into the building. Got some wet, but I'll take some wet just to get here to be in your company, that's okay. But that rain is welcome, and we pray for more as well too, because once you get rain, indeed it will help the situation in that those who would want to water their garden, wash their vehicle, or even our farmers, which is most important, instead of them depending on the government main supply, then of course the showers of blessings that we get will help them along the way, and help the crops too, because all of us know once rain falls on crops or trees or vegetation, it brings some life to it. And so that is what we're hoping for throughout the next couple of days. If we can get some more showers like that, that will be good. But I was talking about the hurricane season, and every time we come, we certainly will have to talk about it, because we have to remind the persons that we are in the hurricane season, and anything can happen over the next 6 months thereabout. And when I say anything can happen, it therefore means you can get a tropical wave, you can get a tropical storm, or you can get something more serious like a hurricane. These days, tropical waves are bringing more than just a little bit of rain. They're bringing some wind with it as well. Tropical storms are almost at the magnitude or the level of a hurricane, and hurricanes are exceeding what they once used to be. As a matter of fact, a few years ago we would have experienced, not here in Nevis, but our neighboring islands would have experienced a Category 5 hurricane. For example, Barbuda, Anguilla, St. Martin and those islands, and it was something that they have never seen before, and in some cases it was something that they would wish would never come again, or the level or magnitude of hurricane would never come again. But we have no control over that. What we have control over is to prepare accordingly, to make sure that we can put certain things in place in terms of ensuring that you have your insurance, your property insurance up to date. You want to make sure that your medical supplies are in whatever kit you normally would have them in, so that you can pick up and go. If you have to use it, then pick up and go. It's in the proper container. Also, your documents at home that can get wet, you put them in the appropriate plastic container or whatever the case might be so that they don't get wet. And also, if you have to stock up on canned goods, you do so as well. Whatever the experts are suggesting to you, these are things we have gone through for many years. Those of you who are 70 years old, you've been hearing it for those years. Those who are younger, you've been hearing it for the time you've been around here. So these are not new things, but these are reinforcement that we're bringing at this time in telling you to be prepared. Be prepared for the unexpected. Be prepared for what is to come. If you think that it's going to be a difficult situation, prepare accordingly. And I don't want you just to think. I want you to believe that we're going to have a difficult time, but while saying that, we still continue to pray that it doesn't happen that way. So the hurricane season, continue to prepare as you go along, and you can never be too prepared for it because we never know what may come our way. Okay? At this time, I also want to just put in a plug for the Mango Festival that is coming up here on the 4th of July to the 7th of July. Of course, that's a major activity on the calendar of activities here on the island of Nevis. Indeed, that event has grown over the years. And if last year was anything to, to go by, as they say, then of course this year will surpass last year. There were some challenges, and my understanding is that all efforts would be made to mitigate those challenges this year, but the whole attempt would be made to ensure that the visitors, citizens, residents, all who would patronize that particular event will have a wonderful time this year. My understanding is that they will be using the entire Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park. So you'll have to do some walking, you'll have to do some, well, it will be a leisurely walk. You just go around, chat and sip and munch and whatever you'll be given. But follow all of the updates that are coming because they're coming fast and furious. I want to congratulate the folks down there at the Nevis Tourism Authority. Well, you have the CEO, Mr. Devon Liebert, and the marketing manager or marketing director, Fayan Jones. He's the one who is pumping out all of these updates and keeping us in tune with what the plans and programs are for those particular days. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 4 days of Mango Festival here on the island of Nevis. I also want to congratulate the Honourable Mark Brantley because it was under his leadership, his idea that is, when this particular event was born. And he was the Minister of Tourism, then still the Minister of Tourism, and it has grown under his leadership over the last 10 years. So this is the 10th anniversary, and it is one of those events, like I said before, which certainly is prominent on the calendar of activities here on the island of Nevis. So too is the Culturama activity as well, that has been around for over, I almost say over 50 years, but this year marks 50 years of the Culturama Festival here on Nevis. It has gone through a lot of different things over the years. It has transitioned from one to the next, or from one level to the next, but this year I understand that all attempts are being made to make it the best ever. And what makes a festival great? There are many ingredients that go into that. Of course, people, first of all, will have to participate in order to make the festival great. So persons will have to come to Nevis, persons on the island of Nevis would have to get involved. And numbers, there's something in numbers, eh? When you see numbers, you see a large crowd, it brings out a kind of festive mood, you know. So I anticipate that there are quite a number of persons who will come to Nevis, spend the time with us and enjoy Culturama 50 with us. We'll have the usual things like Culturama, Calypso Show, you'll have the Queen Show, Mr. Cool, Talented Teen. And speaking of the Talented Teen event, they're having the launch of those contestants down in Charlestown this afternoon. So I'm encouraging one and all to go out and support our youth. They will be on display this afternoon, and of course we're hoping that the weather will give us a break at least for that period of time, and then after that the skies and the heavens can open again. But we want them to see the support coming from the Nivision public this afternoon. So you come out and participate. So there are quite a number of activities planned for Culturama. You have the core activities, and then you have those, I call them fringe activities or private events that are put on by individuals. So in my case, though, I have two events that I normally spearhead. Not normally, but this year, two events. Normally, I spearhead the Herbert Beach Affair each year for the past, well, in my personal capacity as the one who spearheads that since 2003. But the event has been around since 1997, and it is still going strong and still will be around this year. Added to this year down there at Herbert Beach will be the homecoming celebration, something we had back in 2014 and 2015. We took a break and we said for Culturama 50, knowing the amount of persons that we anticipate will come to Nevis, we want to welcome them, especially those who normally would come in just before that big Culturama weekend. We want to welcome persons to Nevis with a nice session down there at Herbert Beach, where we'll have calypsos, we'll have band music, we'll have all kinds of activities down there that evening, and more will be said about that, more to come regarding that event on the 31st of July 2024. And I will say, once the tone is set for that event, then, well, let me say, the tone for Culturama will be set by that event. Because we want you to come, enjoy the food, enjoy the music, enjoy, there's something special about being around those kind of events when you hear music and you see barbecue smoke going up into the air and people making money and people enjoying themselves. So it'll be a festive afternoon and festive night, and I don't know how late we'll go down to in terms of the cutoff time, but we'll go until the persons who would have come say, well, it's time to go home. But I know people are coming here to enjoy themselves, and that is why the 31st of July would be one of those events to give them the atmosphere in which they can enjoy themselves. Then we move to August 5th, which is Monday, August 5th. That is August Monday. After the Juve and the Revelry and so forth, we'll come to Herbert Beach, and you're going to come there. We're going to start at midday, of course, but most times things get heated. Things get heated around, 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. That's when everyone will descend on Herbert Beach for the Herbert Beach Affair 2024 edition. So we'll have music. Various bands will be there. We'll have food. We'll have drinks. We'll have activities. We're planning a few things. And, of course, if the ocean is clear enough, we want to do some ocean activities or some activities in the ocean, so to speak, whether it's kayaking or whatever it is. I think the guys who normally work with me are saying that they're putting together some activities. Well, we had the greasy pole last year. We are having the greasy pole again this year. But there are various activities that we are hoping to have on that afternoon, along with the music that will be there and the fun and the drinks and everything. And, of course, we'll go down until 6 a.m. thereabout on Tuesday the 6th of August. That is the intention, to go down until that time. We've had the complaints over the years that at midnight when we close off, well, people are still in a frolic, how should I put it? They're still in a frolic mood, or they still want to have fun and frolic. So we want to say once everything is safe and good, and it's normally the case, we're going to go down until about 6 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday the 6th. But also we want to have an activity or something to, at least give person a chance to work off some of the drinks and the eats they would have had the day before. So we'll have Mr. Macefield Nisbet who would come by early that morning, Tuesday morning the 6th, and do some aerobic exercises there for us, and to ensure that we're keeping our people as fit as they can be. So you do your aerobic exercises, and then you jump in the ocean, cool down, and then come out and have another drink or two, and then be on your way and get ready for the activities of Tuesday, which are normally the parade of troops and bands around Charlestown. So that is what we're planning, and we have already started to put things in place. And of course the warm-up is already on in terms of whetting the appetite of our people to prepare for Herbert Beach Affair 2024 edition. Okay, before I go any further, let me also at this point mention that the Combomere Methodist Church is celebrating 195 years of being in existence. So this is their 195th anniversary. I'm just giving them a plug here for now. They're having an event down there in the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park in the reception area. So they're having a reception and gala affair this evening. I believe it starts about 6 or 7 o'clock this evening. But if you have not bought a ticket as yet, I would say give them patronize their event this evening, and it costs $150 per ticket, but they'll certainly give you an evening of fun and enjoyment, food and all that goes with a gala. It's one of those prestigious events that they're putting on to commemorate their 195th anniversary. And of course on Sunday afternoon they're having their service as well, a church service to commemorate their 195th anniversary. Starts at 4 p.m. but they're saying to be there by 3:30 p.m. for seating for a 4 p.m. start. So I have heard that being advertised here on Von Radio, and somewhere else I would have seen some advertisement. So the information is out there. So that will be Sunday the 23rd of June for the 195th church service celebration of the Combomere Methodist Church. Indeed, they are also having a fun day to wrap up everything on the 13th of July. Saturday the 13th of July, they're having a fun day right there on the Combomere, the grounds of the old Combomere school that is in the vicinity of the Combomere Health Center, right there next to the Franklin Brown Community Center. You can't miss it anyway. Right there, that old school was once the school where many of the persons who would have succeeded and done well here on the island of Nevis would have gone through that school. So right on that grounds, they'll have their fun day on the 13th of July. Okay, good. And quickly as well, let me mention also for the two schools, my two beloved schools over there in St. James. These are the two primary schools. Of course, on the 4th of July, the St. James Primary School, Thursday the 4th of July to be specific, the St. James Primary School will have their graduation ceremony. And also on the 5th of July, the VOJN Primary School will have their graduation ceremony as well. The St. James Primary School graduation ceremony is normally held up there at the Eden Brown Church of God. That's over there at Eden Brown, just on the outskirts of Butlers. And indeed, this year, the VOJN Primary School, I believe they'll be at the Beulah Seventh-day Adventist Church down there in the camps area. As you go around the corner from well, just before the entrance to Herbert Beach. I got to mention Herbert Beach as well. Every time I open my mouth, somehow it comes out my mouth. Yeah. So that's the two schools that are having their graduation ceremony over the next week or so. Yes, that's the 4th and the 5th. Okay. So let's move on quickly. Okay, in terms of the data from the Uwale Water Taxi Facility, sometimes we like to keep track of these things because it's important to let the people of Nevis know and those further afield that that facility continues to grow over the years. And every month the numbers reflect the importance and the significance of that particular facility. So for May 2024, we had persons coming in, that is from Reggae Beach to Uwale Beach, 11,519 persons, and of course going out 11,478 persons. Next week I'm going to come back because I don't have the data with me of what transpired up to the end of April. I love to give it, because as we continue to grow, we have targets and benchmark that we set in terms of the numbers. So last year I believe we were able to do up to the end of 2023 somewhere around 240 plus thousand persons would have used the facility. This year we are saying we'll exceed that as well and perhaps get more in the range of 270 or even more. But every month the numbers continue to grow because 22,997 persons would have used that facility for the month of May. And of course, for the month of June, you know, we have big activities happening, music festival and the like. So at least for some of us, we see that as a means of getting some additional numbers going through, because the numbers tell a story. And what it says to us is that as persons continue to use that facility, of course, money is being made by all and sundry. NASPA makes money. The boat owners and operators make money. All of the businesses that depend on that particular industry makes money, whether it's a petrol station, parts, and also social security as well makes money, because as far as I am concerned, everyone who is engaged in employment over there should be, their contribution should be going to social security to keep that fund going and to get that fund growing even more. So all areas, businesses benefit all the way down there on Penny's Beach, for example, all of those restaurants and all the restaurants throughout the island of Nevis, all of the restaurants and St. Kitts, I'm sure from time to time, will get persons who use that service to get onto St. Kitts or over to Nevis to have a good time or to spend time with family or whatever the case might be. So it is an income or revenue generating business or industry that has certainly impacted the island of Nevis in a tremendous way. Taxi operators are over there sitting waiting for some business, and they do get business all the time, because of course there are times you go there, no taxi operators are there. It means that they're out around the island doing something, carrying persons for an island tour, dropping them to certain points on the island. So we know that it is a industry that impacts quite a number of areas here on the island of Nevis and on St. Kitts, of course, and we certainly will continue to push that particular facility so people can continue to use it, of course. Yes, so that takes care of that. Let's move on quickly, because of course we've had quite a number of events and activities over the last couple of days or weeks. Oh, before I go, I had a note here to promote this particular new service that is going to come on stream here on the 12th of July. That is the introduction of airlift or services between the Van Samre International Airport and also the airport there in St. Croix. I forgot the name of it, but anyway, let me just be as simple as possible, be as simplistic as possible. There will be airlift available between Nevis and St. Croix. St. Croix and Nevis as of the 12th of July. It is something that in terms of what has been done by the necessary stakeholders, it is something that has been pursued for some time. And this is now coming to fruition on the 12th of July. And of course the schedule, I believe, is out, but all I will say at this point in time, it is a service that all of us who can certainly utilize it, please do. The people from St. Croix have always been asking for that connection, and while I'm at that, let me shout out persons like Henry Cole down there in St. Croix. Shout out my dad as well too. He normally would come back and forth, and they were coming so often back in the day when Mike Foster had that coastal here flying back and forth. Well, now you have another service available to you, and it is saying here that it will fly, or the service will be available on Fridays and Sundays, apparently, to start with. But of course, as the service picks up and there will be demand, of course, for the service, then more flights will be put on, I'm sure. Any opportunity to make a dollar, any opportunity to move our people, the services will be scheduled accordingly to ensure that that is done. Yeah? So, that being said, you'll hear more about that service as we go along. And indeed, we are asking our citizens, whether you're here on Nevis, but even in St. Kitts, you can come over and catch KPA from here on Nevis to go down to St. Croix. Yeah, because you come over via the water taxi, go up to the Van Samre International Airport, go down to St. Croix, and when you come back, it's the same loop back down to the water taxi and over to St. Kitts. So I know that there have been occasions when persons came over to catch Mike Foster and Coastal here to go to St. Croix. So that service will be available to all here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Okay, very good. Now, during the press conference that was held by the Premier on Wednesday afternoon, he said quite a number of things. Of course, when the Premier comes, he would actually cover all of the necessary ministries and department and statutory bodies of the Nevis Island administration. And of course, he would have touched on something that piqued my interest, which I would definitely speak a little bit about now, and that was the acquisition or the purchase of lands up there at Garner's estate. For those of you who are not familiar with the area, it is below Fountain, but more specifically, it is right across from the housing development up there that we call University Heights. And that tract of land that includes the mill, there's a mill up there, sugar mill, at the top of the land, and it comes down towards the ocean, and it's about 36 acres of lands, if I can recall. The reason why I bring it up is because some years ago I was doing some research, and it was something that piqued my interest, whereby those lands were bought way back in the 60s, I believe, by the initial owner, and then sold to another couple. And indeed, I was able to get hold of the documents pertaining to that and the will that was written by the deceased prior to the death of the owners prior. And basically what was in that will was of importance to me in terms of us securing and holding as much of our lands as possible here on the island of Nevis. You know, the CCM-led NIA has always been big on replenishing our land stock as a government. We've purchased quite a number of pieces of lands over the years, and of course that piece of land, or that tract of land, 36 acres of land, will be a part of the government land stock here shortly. And I was happy to hear that the Premier and his team would have gone about ensuring that we solidify or secure that transaction to ensure that those lands are available for our people. Initially, the estate was about 65 acres, but those lands across there that are occupied by the folks who would have purchased properties, during the construction of University Heights and others, were initially a part of that particular estate. But 36 acres of land, that's quite a bit of land, good tract of land. And I believe that when it is finally bought and secured, all who can get a hold of a piece of those lands should do so. And when I say all, once you qualify, of course you must be a citizen of the Federation or St. Kitts and Nevis to start with. If you're abroad, as the Premier would have said, and I encourage that as well, those who are abroad, stay in touch and see if you can secure a piece of that particular tract of land. It is a very beautiful piece of land, absolutely beautiful. You have a view of the Atlantic Ocean going into the Caribbean Sea. You have a view of Booby Island, as we call it. You look down into the peninsula, you see parts of Frigate Bay as well. You can see and capture those boats, the water taxi service as it goes back and forth. You have a panoramic view of the mountain as well in the background. So it is a vast area you cover, the whole of camps going back towards parts of Barnaby, those hills across there, and coming all the way around to Newcastle, down into Oahu Bay. You have that vast amount of coverage in terms of view. Then you come up Shaw's Road and come round hill and go up to Spring Hill and up into the mountains, come right around. So 360, you have a fantastic view. It seems like I'm already selling those lands, but it warms my heart when I know that we have gone out and we have looked out for Nevisians and looked out for the island of Nevis to ensure that these lands that form part of our patrimony stays with us. And that is important, and that is fundamental to our discussion and to our efforts as well. These lands could have gone anywhere. They could have gone to someone in New York. They could have gone to someone in Germany. They could have gone to someone in wherever it is. We normally say Timbuktu if there is such a place. I believe there is a place. But anyway, they haven't gone there. They have been kept, and we have sought to pursue it because I think the pursuit of these lands started somewhere around 2020 thereabout, when I was there as the Minister of Lands, and stuck with it until now. It was music to my ears when I heard the Premier mention that those lands will be a part of the government land stock. And I so congratulate him and congratulate the Minister of Lands, the current Minister of Lands, Honourable Eric Evelyn, and congratulate the entire cabinet, because of course these are some decisions that are discussed and pursued by the cabinet, and certainly ultimately the payment of course perhaps will come from the NIA itself through whatever means that they have established. But the bottom line is those lands are now going to be in the land stock of the people of Nevis, for the people of Nevis, for the enjoyment of the people of Nevis, and most importantly, they're staying in our hands. You know, some people are considered land grabbers out there, and we want to keep our lands out of their hands. Land grabbers they are, and we have always sought as a government, a party in government, to secure our land and secure our patrimony. And that is why I'm so proud of this particular party in government, because that is what we have done. We bought lands all up and down Nevis since we have been there as a government. Even prior to this CCM being in government, prior to that we have bought many tracts of lands here. We haven't taken away anybody's lands. Negotiate and ensure that we come to a reasonable conclusion of that process, so that persons can walk away and know that we did talk and we got some results. Yeah. So that being said, I just thought that I'll touch that because of course, like I said, it was music to my ears when I heard that, and I want to wrap up by saying congratulations once again to all who would have ensured that we got those lands in our possession. Okay. Sorry. So yes, other things that would have come up this week, of course, at the Premier's press conference, he would have mentioned that 10%, I believe it is, 15%, I apologize, 15% salary increase was given to the ministers, not ministers, but parliamentarians, because ministers are who form the cabinet, parliamentarians are who form up the Nevis Island Assembly. So those on the government side and those on the opposition would have gotten a 15% salary increase. And of course there have been a lot of chatter. These things will generate some conversation. But I've said before, and I continue to say it, that I love history, and the endearing thing, as I always said about history, is that it repeats itself. And there are times when history has been made and people sometimes want to forget history. But history is in black and white. And in most cases, you can go and you can dig it up if you have the chance to or the time to do so. Dig it up and have a look at what history, what would have unfolded in the past that make up our history here on the island and throughout the world. But of course we have our history here on the island of Nevis, and sometimes when things happen in 2020, 2024, like yesterday or the day before, it becomes a conversation, and the conversation will be along the line, oh Lord, man, like people are just shocked and believe that this is the first time certain things are happening. And of course a lot of persons will have their opinions regarding this particular increase, but I'll say this to you, that the Nevis Island administration or the government of the day would have gone through certain transitions over the last 11 years since they've been in government, and there have been good times, there have been bad times, and in good times all of us would have good times here on the island of Nevis, in whatever area. Of bad times, all of us share in the bad times as well too. But the point is, when I hear the opposition and their conversation regarding this increase, I had to step back for a little bit, because I can recall in 2013, before we even got our first paycheck in 2013, we were told by the Premier then, the Honourable Van Samry, listen guys, things are bad, things are tough, things are terrible. And indeed it was, because when we campaigned leading up to the 2011, 2013 elections, we know what the state of the economy was here in Nevis. We knew for a fact that when we left government, when the CCM left government in 2006, for example, and I always bring this example up, all of the necessary department, ministries, especially statutory bodies, were performing at a very high level, good level. Finances were in good shape. Debts were low. Everything were in good shape. And so we understood what we left then. But lo and behold, we got into government in 2013. And listen, the NHLDC, for example, which was within my responsibility, I know for a fact that the government left behind well over $56 million from the sale of 600 acres of land down there at Pennies. And also an additional, I believe, $15 million was made from the sale of lands up there at Nugent Heights. These are facts that cannot be disputed. Facts. So you can tell yourself that the NHLDC would have handled well over $70 million from the sale of lands down there at Pennies. These are lands that were bought by the concerned citizens movement for, I believe, maybe about $9 million, $10 million back in 2004, thereabout, or 2005, thereabout. So those were bought, put into the land stock, but of course the attempt was made to attract this hotel development through a company called Newfound. Be that as it may, that didn't pan out. Of course, the monies were received though. $56 million was derived from the sale of 600 acres of lands, plus the sale of those lands down at Nugent Heights and Nugent Village. Not only that, of course, some monies were left right there in Scotiabank. $10 million US dollars, call it 27 million EC dollars. So we know that the financial situation of the NIA was very good in 2006, cannot be disputed. And so when the CCM left government in 2006, I can say to the people of Nevis without any doubt, the NRP went to the length and breadth of Nevis. And they say that they need an increase. Within 1 month of being in government, you know, they put a 3-man panel together, went around the whole of Nevis, asking for an increase, beseeching the people of Nevis to join with them in supporting an increase for the ministers of government at the point in time, the NRP ministers of government. You know what they were saying? By Vance and them were working for almost next to nothing, you know. But here's what Vance Amri and his team was working for. The ministers of government were making just about $102,000 annually. I think the premier at the time was making about $123,000, just over $123,000 annually. Based on the estimates, they can be found. Go and look them up. And that is why people must do their research. You know, don't take what people are saying on the radio or on the street or on Facebook, because they're giving you a narrative to run with, creating havoc and creating stress in your mind and stress in your life. But that is what they met, you know, ministers making then $102,000 annually. And then the premier was making just about $123,000. By the time the estimates were seen, that those estimates were put together in 2012. But remember, the election was in January of 2013. January 2013, the NRP was not able to present the budget then. But when the budget was looked at, or the estimates were looked at that time, the ministers were making $115,140. I kind of remember it good. But let's say $115,000. The premier at the time was making $135,000. What we said in 2013 then, in January 2013, based on the circumstances and based on the difficulties that Nevis was going through at that point in time. Because you see, that year 2012 was the worst year for the island of Nevis, financially and otherwise. We went through an election whereby apparently the NRP knew that they were not going to win the election, because they went and take off everybody's name they could off the voters list. Ran an election on a list that was a bogus list. And the court determined that they were wrong, and the seat up there in St. John's, Nevis 2, was made null and void. So throughout the year 2012, everything that could have been done, it looked like they went and they walk out the treasury. We almost had to fish it out of the harbor down there in Charlestown, because they sank it that deep and that low that we understood whatever resources was there, man, them guys walk it out. So when we came into government in 2013, the premier, who was the Minister of Finance then, the late Honourable Vance Amri, God bless his soul, said, guys, all of you have to take a 10% cut, you know. You have to take a 10% pay cut. I didn't murmur. I don't even know what my salary was going to be at that time, but all I know I was elected by the people of St. James, and I came into work. My sleeve them roll up now. See here. They roll up, and that's how it was throughout my term and my time as a minister of government, because I came to work. I wasn't concerned about money, because I understood what the plight of the people of Nevis was. And so we stood in solidarity. Then all of us took a 10% cut. So you understand that NRP got their raise, you know, because in 2006, ministers were making 102,000 annually. And then by 2013, they had gotten their raise without us knowing, making $115,000 annually. So they got their raise, unbeknownst to us. The same thing with the premier. He was making just over 123,000. And then by 2013, that was up to 135. And if you check the estimates after 2013 when we got in, with the 10%, everybody went back down. Right back down to where we once were in 2006. So if Nurse Jean Harris, the Honourable Nurse Jean Harris, Van Samry, the Honourable Malcolm Gishard, God bless his soul, the Honourable Michael Perkins, and all those who were there, and they were making $102,000 in 2006. And the Premier at the time, Van Samry, where we went back right to where they were back in 2006, making $102,000. And we survived. For 3 years, I think I heard the Honourable Troy Libert say 2. I don't know, because when we check my record, as far as I'm concerned, maybe mine was delayed, but I believe it's almost 3 years we went without that 10% added back to our salaries. And I believe it was added back in 2016. And not only that, fast forward to 2020, just to show you how caring the CCM ministers and government is. When COVID-19 hit, the uncertainties that surrounded COVID-19, we said, you know what? We're going to take a 10% cut again. And we did. And it lasted for some time, well over a year. The Premier, as far as I can recall, he would have forfeited, or he would have refused to take a salary for 21 months. You all might say Mark Brantley is rich, you know, and you all could say what they like about stopwatch people money. The bottom line is, he would have stood in solidarity and said, I am not going to take a salary for 21 months. Not one soul in NRP would have ever done that, because they didn't do it. They came around 1 month after they got in government in 2006 and said they want a raise before they even start to work. And before they even start to work, all of them get a brand new Jeep, duty free. Duty free, every one of them. And I don't grudge them for that at all. Let me say it clear. But listen, when you talk, you must talk with honesty and decency, and not try to rev up people and rile up people. Do not do it. Because I said before, there's a culture within the NRP which is a culture of deception, a culture of lies. Listen, that culture is one that Nivision should shun every single day. It is not. It is toxic. It is toxic. And then I hear the current leader of the NRP says she's going to take the money and give it to her constituents. Well, let me tell you, here's what the people in St. James are saying, okay? Leave the money in the Treasury and let the Social Services Department determine who needs it in St. James, whether they vote for you or not. Give it to them. Not you say you're going to give them and don't give them. Yeah? We cannot rely on that, because there are many things we can point out today that we cannot rely on when it comes to you. But we'll deal with that accordingly down the road. I'm not concerned about that. But all I would tell you is that leave the money in the Treasury and let the Ministry of Social Development, who have been doing a fantastic job to ensure that our people are looked after, and let them go and give the most vulnerable over there, whether they vote for you or not. And then we'll know that you're serious. But until such time, I don't want to hear a thing from you. Because I'll tell you, there's a certain minister in St. Kitts who said he was going to give half his salary to his constituents, and then after that is all kind of things me here, all kind of mix up like a pella over there. I don't even want to get into that on radio. But anyway, let us get back to reality instead of digressing so far. But as I was saying, that we must be honest about ourselves. Every single minister, past and present, when it comes to the concerned citizens movement in government, have played their part in terms of ensuring that some of the burden that have been borne by our people, we have stood in solidarity with them. So you hear them talking about things hard and things rough in Nevis. Well, things hard and rough all over the world, but in Nevis, I can tell you this much. As difficult as it is, there are persons out there who have 1 job, 2 jobs, 3 jobs. You know why? They are ambitious. And they want to make a way for them in life, for themselves and for their children and for all of their family members who depend on them. There's absolutely nothing wrong with working 2 and 3 jobs. Man, if you go work 4, work 4. 24 hours in a day, I don't know how you're going to get it to. But if you can, you do it. Because you know what? Persons are leaving their country of birth and coming to Nevis. And when they come here and they sit here and look around Nevis, they say, wow, this is a place I can make it. This is a place I can survive. This is a place I can make a life. And they're doing it, you know. They're doing it. They're coming here. And I know some of them have come and within 3 years, they've gone into the private sector and bought land. They've gone into the private sector and bought land. And in 5 years' time, they've built a house. While we're here, listening to people who, as far as I'm concerned, are failures in life. Because if you don't have anything to show that you have progressed in life to the point where you're employing people, you have a lucrative or successful business or profession that is successful, then why are people listening to these people? Why would you want to take advice from someone who hasn't demonstrated to you that they cannot succeed in life or they have nothing going for them in life? Man, if somebody out there is a contractor, for example, and they have built many houses here on the island of Nevis, I will sit down and listen to them and figure out, well, how you have done it over the years. And maybe I might be convinced to become a contractor too. If a mechanic out there and he's one who have shown us over the years that they've done some painting, body works, and is this some of the most beautiful jobs they've completed, I would listen to them because maybe I don't want to become a mechanic, a body painter, or a body worksman someday. By the same token, if someone has a successful business in any area, he's worth listening to because he has stood the test of time. He understands the market. He has adjusted accordingly to the circumstances that he has to face on a daily basis. And as time has gone by, he has grown his business to the point where he is surviving out there, paying his bills and employing people. Those are the kind of people and the work ethics we want to draw on here on the island of Nevis. But when people get up every day negative, oh, that ain't no good, oh, that's a problem, oh, that everything negative you hear coming from some of them. Well, how are we expected to grow as a people? How are we expected to provide the examples to our young men and young women who are out there trying to figure out where do I go in life or how do I survive in this life? But if everything you hear is negative, negative in, negative out. Negative in, like there's something in the computer industry or computer field. Garbage in, garbage out. Garbage in, garbage out. Or they call it giggle. Giggle. Garbage in, garbage out. Bad in, bad out. Negative in, negative. And that's what you're getting from the opposition. The opposition hasn't brought anything of substance to grow and sustain the lives of the people of this island here at all as yet. They're trying to hide their leader, hide them. Don't say nothing, just hide them. And then you have some talkatons out there who are talking every day, protecting and hiding her. And say, well, what? Lead this island? Listen, the only person right now can lead this island through what we're going through and beyond is the Honourable Mark Brantley. He's the leader right now. There are others who are going to aspire within the cabinet, I'm sure, of the Nevis Island administration or within the party. But Mark Brantley is the leader. And no matter what they say about Mark Brantley, because you see, some narratives come across from St. Kitts about Mark Brantley. But I'll tell you this much about Mark Brantley. You know, he's now in Taiwan right now, the Republic of China, Taiwan, on that official trip for the swearing in of the new president of the Republic of China, Taiwan. I say congratulations to the leadership and the government people and everyone there in Taiwan, the Republic of China, Taiwan. I too am happy for the relationship we've had over the years. But Mark Brantley is there with the Prime Minister of the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis and his delegation. But I'll say this to you. When it comes to the Honourable Mark Brantley, there are many things about him that you cannot dispute. Say what you want about him. I know for sure with all of the difficulties we've been having with this CBI program, he has spoken about it for years upon years upon years and asking for a change to be made. As a matter of fact, when he was a Minister of Foreign Affairs, he was the best Minister of Foreign Affairs this country has ever seen. Let's have an argument, let's have a discussion about that. But I will tell you, that when the Honourable Mark Brantley was there for those 7 years as the Minister of Foreign Affairs, no scandal was put at his feet. There was a hush puppy thing. I don't think Brantley know a thing about hush puppy. I know hush puppy and them does be up there on social media and wherever. I don't. Why you do? You just sing. Anyway, the hush puppy saga. I don't know nothing about it, and I could tell you plain Mark don't know about a thing about it. But when it comes to anything directly linked to Mark Brantley in terms of any scandal, none, zero. As a matter of fact, when he came here on a Wednesday night, he was always telling you, listen, we established diplomatic ties with another country. We established diplomatic ties with one of the Schengen countries in Europe, throughout Europe, and many of them, you all know them, Belgium, France, all of them. I don't know all of them really, but you know, I want to say this to you, that when he was there, he made sure that the passport of St. Kitts Nevis was recognized throughout the world. As a matter of fact, based on the data I know, that St. Kitts Nevis passport might be ranked number 3 in the Caribbean right now, throughout the world on the global stage, yeah, behind Bahamas and perhaps Barbados. And when he left as the Minister of Foreign Affairs, we had visa-free access to well over 150 countries. That is what he did. The diplomatic ties that were created throughout the world. Many people were saying here in Nevis and on, oh, we not go to them country there. You talk about Georgia, we ain't going there. But there was a reason for that. That was a means of stabilizing the citizenship by investment program to make sure that our passport remained attractive. And it became so attractive under the Honourable Mark Brantley that we had so many sales of our passport throughout those years. I heard the Prime Minister call a number down at 32,606 passports were sold between 2015 and 2022. That's a lot of passport, and the people of Nevis seem to be ignoring that, you know. I want the people of Nevis to do some maths. 32,606 passports. Multiply that by an average of, if you want to use 100,000, it's up to you, but it was supposed to be at least 150,000. Multiply that and you see how much money have been collected for a passport. And then when you do that, right, compare that to the measly 500 million that they keep talking about. Every day they talk about 500 million. Now my question to the NRP, when are you going to start to rally with the CCM to fight for the island of Nevis and the things that are rightfully for the people of Nevis? Because you all seem to sit and wait for someone from St. Kitts to give you a narrative to go and run with. Run with the narrative, and then while you're running with that, in St. Kitts, they don't spending half all of our passport money. That can't be right. When are you going to stand up as a Nevision NRP, you and your leadership? When are you going to stand up as a Nevision and defend the island of Nevis as the Honourable Mark Brantley and his team is doing? I mean, all of these passports have been sold, all kind of scandal up and down the place. We are the recipient of all of those negative scandals that are over there. All of the negatives, we are the recipients. St. Kitts and Nevis, when good come, it stays in St. Kitts. When bad come, St. Kitts and Nevis. You all ain't realize? And then you up and down everything, Mark Brantley, Mark. Mark name ain't in a document and it says Mark. Oh, what me hearing this afternoon. I gotta say, boss, maybe I live in a strange place here, but I still love this place called St. Kitts Nevis. But even more so, I love my island of Nevis. I want to say to the people of Nevis, all of the difficulties that we've had with the CBI program, we have talked about it before and talked about them before. We don't want to see that program go anywhere worse than what it is. We want it to remain as the pivotal point on which we can use to develop this country moving forward. But listen, done with the Mark talk. And understand that mistakes have been made by all those down in St. Kitts who believe they're the smartest and the brightest. But you know what they do? They give somebody in Nevis, and most times it's in the NRP, a narrative to run with. Go along out there, blame Mark, blame Brantley, blame. But while you're doing that, the good, all of the revenue, all of the monies that we should have gotten out of our citizenship stays in St. Kitts. And I don't want nobody in St. Kitts to come after me, but history has been made, the records are there. If you're going to say 32,606 passports have been sold, which was reported by the Prime Minister, if that is the truth, what I want from you as well, Prime Minister, is how much money that equate to, how many were undersold, how much of that we should have gotten in Nevis, because you are trying your best, yes, but this thing is still unresolved, yeah? So let us get to the point where we can get it resolved and all of us can live happily as a federation. This federation is too good for us to let it go down. So let us work together and stop the blame game and let us put things in place. There's a prescription out there, Let us do it. Let us implement that prescription and stop blaming each other. Stop blaming Mark Bradley for whatever is going on with respect to the CBI program, because all of you who are familiar with it know exactly what is going on. With that said, I think my time is up. But it's too short. I got to beg somebody to sponsor me to go a little longer. But anyway, when you're done, you're done. My time is done, and I certainly appreciate being here. And thank you for listening. We come with a different style from time to time, but this is how On Point is from time to time, yeah? Okay, thank you very much. It was indeed my pleasure being here. Have yourself a wonderful weekend. God bless you. God bless the island of Nevis. God bless the island of St. Kitts, the entire Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis and its people. And if you go to church on Sunday, please go on Sunday and serve your God. Give him thanks for life. Give him thanks for health. Give him thanks for everything. And then you continue being as wonderful as you are to build the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Thank you very much and have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertisers.
You're listening to Vaughn Radio from the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis.
It is now 2 minutes, moving away from 2 o'clock.
With all the power from